Hey guys, welcome back to Dizzle in Motion. Quick story about the U.S. Department of Defense's new tool in our arsenal coming soon, or maybe it's already here. The F-47 fighter jet, sixth generation. This is the one that's going to replace eventually the F-22 because it's manned instead of unmanned. Now, I'm going to go through an article here that kind of goes through some of the details, but there's some interesting tidbits here. It's not all just directly, hey, we wanted to do this thing and build this amazing new asset for us, and here it is, and here how much it costs. Trump has a tendency to say too much, and I worked for the Air Force for years, both contract and enlisted, and it's interesting to see the level of privacy and secrecy we have on programs. And Trump just kind of does whatever Trump wants to do. It's really, if you pay attention to the details, which I'm sure our adversaries do, not sure he always says all the best things. But in any case, the contract is going to Boeing of all companies. And I mean, everything from the space capsule to planes having issues to everything else the last couple of years. It's an interesting choice. But the way these things typically go is all the competitors will build, whether it's Northrop or Lockheed or whoever's building whatever, they all build their little prototype and then they battle them out. And then all the pencil pushers decide what we can afford, and it's always over budget and too expensive. And they test these things for 5 to 10 years before anything's officially awarded. So I think we already know that our military technology is decades ahead of what we actually see in production. But specifically on what I call white world assets, things that are eventually announced, because not everything is. It's typically like a 5 to 10 year cycle of R&D before it goes into production. So let me go through this article real quick and then give you guys the details up to speed. And then I'll run some soon anecdotal stuff that I noticed that I'm just like, all right, I guess this is where we are. It's also interesting that Elon Musk had just gotten done talking crap on the F-35s and the F-22s, talking about how manned fighters are a thing of the past and they're outdated. And now he's like the number one, I don't want to call him an advisor, but I mean, he's at the table with Trump all the time. So Trump's touting this manned new asset that we have, and Elon's still talking crap on it. I'm curious to see how that unfolds also. So let's get into the article, roll the intro. All right, so this is from Getty, Reuters, and a few other sources. You can find it. I'm going to throw it up on the screen because I know some of you like to watch and put me on mute. Some of you like to listen while you drive. Trying to give you guys both best of both worlds, what you're into. So let's go straight into it. So the headline, of course, is Trump picks Boeing to build the next generation fighter plane. And what's interesting here, our first little caveat, the announcement came less than an hour after Elon Musk, an opponent of crewed fighter planes, met with the defense secretary. So Elon's meeting with the defense secretary. I mean, it makes sense with the space stuff. There's a lot of stuff with Elon that you guys don't know about. He does some super cool high-tech stuff for our military also. I mean, you would assume that, but yeah, that's going on. So yes, he has to meet with people. He has the highest clearances, all that good stuff. And I know that's going to bother the hell out of some people, but that's just the reality. So moving on. President Donald Trump announced Friday that Boeing had won a massive $20 billion contract for the Air Force's next generation fighter jet, directly challenging China's military advances in the Pacific. The plane represents a leap ahead in stealth technologies and is designed to partner with a new fleet of drones, giving it more combat punch and surveillance capabilities to evade radars as it flies through contested airspace. So that's the big thing. We've reached about the envelope of aerodynamic handling. You guys may be familiar with the Sukhois, like the Russian jets, where they have the thrust vectoring. And I know ours have it to a degree, but you've seen where the planes can kind of loop, almost spin a circle or a cartwheel. That's pretty much the limits of what we're getting in aerodynamics. So now the next generation fighter is going to take the stealth, the maneuverability, the range, but also employ it so that there's some kind of centralized computer in the fighter itself that can control a number of drones in a support role. So imagine you're flying in on a target and you need to be unpredictable. You could have a dozen, 2 dozen drones or even 2 or 3, depending on what the mission is, right? If you want some kamikaze drones, some interference, some stuff to take flak for you, it's an incredibly powerful tool to redirect force, to misdirect surface air missiles, stuff like that, to be able to control that centralized in real time from one of our other assets. This is next level, Trump said in an Oval Office announcement with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth standing next to him. Level 5 is good. This is level 6. He's talking about the generation of fighter. So it just, I think Trump is a pretty bright guy. Clearly, you have to be to get where he's gotten in life, but it just shows like the limitation of his knowledge on certain things. So just the vernacular is incorrect, but it's funny because it's a Trumpism, right? China. The announcement came less than an hour after Elon Musk visited the Pentagon to meet with Hegseth about China's threat to the United States. Musk has been a longtime opponent of the Pentagon building crewed fighter planes like the one described Friday. Why do you think Elon Musk, the guy that builds rockets and satellites, is meeting about China? I'll let you draw your own conclusions on that one. The Trump advisor in social media posts late last year touted videos of drone swarms while criticizing crewed fighter jets. So, quote, some idiots are still building manned fighter jets like the F-35, he posted to X. The next generation fighter program was also not on the list of Pentagon weapon systems exempted from possible cuts in February that Hegseth had circulated. So, yeah, obviously if they're going to approve something and put their name on it, they're not going to cut it. Durr. With this choice, the Trump administration is opting to split the difference between the current era of crewed fighter jets and drones enabled by AI. The Next Generation Air Dominance program, a crewed aircraft, is being designed to operate alongside a new family of combat drones. This plane flies with drones, Trump said. That's something no other plane can do. So this is one of those things I'm talking about. Why are you telling people that? Like, I've known about, a lot of people know about this as a conceptually or even operationally, but we don't talk about it. Like, the president just telling things. Like, anyways, I don't know. It's just unnecessary to me. Whatever. OPSEC, bro. Basic OPSEC. The decision to go with Boeing is a reversal for the president, who has been openly critical of the defense contractor. And it's a major coup for the company after it was eliminated early in the process for an uncrewed fighter jet program. Yeah, Boeing's had its freaking issues. I think we know this. Boeing is also struggling with the new Air Force One program, the official presidential aircraft that Trump has sought to redesign. Quote, I'm not happy with Boeing, he told reporters last month. I'm not happy with the fact that it's taking so long. And we may do something else. We may go out and buy a plane or get a plane or something. First of all, you can't just buy an Air Force One plane. You don't get the source. Sorry, Mr. Trump. And again, I'm not bashing on Trump, but I am kind of, because this is where he gets into saying ridiculous things. We know his intent is good, but it just makes no sense. These planes are like $2 billion each. They got to be budgeted and accounted for like 8 years before we even start the process. Do you guys want to know what the hang up is on, I can't say on the Boeing manufacturing part of it, but do you know what the hang up is on what he wants them to change on Air Force One? He wants it to be painted red, white, and blue, but really it's like Trump colors, right? Instead of the baby blue we've had since JFK. That's it. That's his complaint. And it's just weird. People are talking about paints way different amounts, and it's wild, man. Top Republicans on Capitol Hill celebrated the decision Friday and encouraged Trump to move ahead with broader defense building. The F-47 is a vital platform that would allow the United States to rule the skies for years to come, Senate Armed Services Chair Roger Wicker said in a statement, adding he looked forward to a broad revitalization of the defense industrial base. The Air Force is working with drone maker General Atomics and tech startup Anduril to build prototypes for the program. One of the companies will eventually win a deal to build thousands of drones that provide extra surveillance and strike capability in areas that are too dangerous for crewed aircraft. The program joins a short list of major modernization programs at the Pentagon alongside the B-21 bomber, which is still in development, and the Navy's Frigate program, which is currently behind schedule and over budget. If it wasn't behind schedule and over budget, I wouldn't even believe it was the government. The plane's development will have to be squeezed into an overall defense budget that is expected to remain mostly flat, forcing military leaders to make tough decisions over which expensive modernization programs to pursue and which to let die. Trump on Friday said certain allies will also be interested in the new aircraft. The U.S. will be selling them, although without many of the sensitive technologies on the U.S. jets. Quote, we like to tone them down about 10%. which probably makes sense because someday maybe they're not our allies, right? Fair enough. But it's just funny because I don't think he actually knows what the number is. Anyways, here's what it looks like in a rendering. Here's an official rendering. Check that out right now. Cool. It kind of looks like the BOP, the bird of prey, if any of you are old enough, whole design, stuff like that, maybe some variation of that. And, you know, it's nice to know that 30-year-old designs are still being used. Now, here's an interesting part. Again, you don't need to say this stuff. An experimental version of the plane has secretly been flying for almost 5 years, and we're confident that it massively overpowers the capabilities of any other nation, Trump said, introducing the F-47. He also said experimental F-47 has been flying for 5 years, and that toned-down versions of F-47 might be sold to U.S. allies, as I just mentioned. Here's a picture of him showing it off in the Oval Office, and which I don't really have a problem with a rendering or whatever. But yeah, let's talk about this for 1 second and bring this video to a close. You shouldn't be telling people the capabilities. He wants to, this is like his biggest, my pet peeve with Trump, and not to go full politics. I like a lot of his policies, but dude, you try to talk yourself up by taking credit for other stuff. That's, when you get into military and OPSEC and stuff, you shouldn't be talking about all the capabilities. Just say it's badass and we're good. Don't talk about how long you've been flying it, because now, I'll give you for instance, if you're intelligence, you can go back for the last 5 years, look for incidences of anomalies of radar tracking, your spies within country and stuff like that, and you can kind of narrow down what you were looking at and where you were looking at. Like, you're just giving intelligence for no reason. Don't talk about it can fly with drones. Yeah, we're gonna know that eventually, but don't give them a head start on that. Just basic stuff, guys, basic OPSEC, you know, an E3 would know, but maybe I guess not the president. Anyways, I think it's gonna be pretty badass. It's gonna be cool. The future is here. I do think this will be the last manned generation of combat vehicle we have, especially aerial. But I'm excited to see it because I've never seen it before. But what do you guys think? Are we wasting our money on this stuff? Does Trump have a big mouth? That's the latest and greatest. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.